some staggering numbers. She estimates that only 10% of the homes in the entire town of Paradise are still standing tonight after the Camp Fire. You know, I think a lot of people inside predicted that Gavin Newsom would become the governor-elect of California, and that is what happened, and tonight certainly solidified that. So from mayor of San Francisco to lieutenant governor to now governor-elect. And we've also seen what you can see surrounding me right now. This is Deer Creek. It is raging here in Nevada City, and I'm standing on the porch of the restaurant Lefty's Grill, which was already hit really hard from the last storms in January. They just completed renovations. We're getting ready to open, and then they took on 6 inches of water today. The cars cleared out, but then we saw a crowd rushing in another direction on Florin Road, and presumably this is why, because there's a row of police officers here. I'd say a couple dozen police officers in riot gear here on Florin Road. 2 helicopters were flying overhead continuously, picking up these large bags of sand and dropping them over near the emergency spillway. She was sobbing because she says she knows the people that live in that home, and she's worried that one of the victims is her friend. The East Area rapist was wearing gloves, so if it in fact was DeAngelo, it would be something that he would be hiding perhaps under gloves, because that would be something that the victims would notice and they would report to police, and that would be a telltale sign as to who their man was for all these years.
Allie, that is absolutely fascinating.
I spoke to a former coworker and friend of Joseph DeAngelo, the East Area rapist suspect, and he says DeAngelo was meticulous in his work and that he barely ever called out sick from the Save Mart distribution center in Roseville. He also said he was missing part of his finger. Before Joseph DeAngelo became known as the suspected East Area rapist, he was Gary Griffin's longtime coworker and friend.
I can't look at him in court because I picture the guy that I was standing next to at work.
They had lunch together every day for years and went water skiing together. Now DeAngelo is accused of being a vicious serial killer and rapist. Griffin says as a mechanic, he was meticulous while working at this Save Mart distribution center in Roseville.
He was very, very afraid of being in trouble. Never called in sick. He was proud of that.
Griffin also says DeAngelo was missing part of a finger.
He said that that happened in the Navy.
Okay.
And that's why I knew he was in the Navy.
If DeAngelo is in fact the East Area rapist, he would have had to hide that defining feature from his victims. The elusive criminal always wore gloves and masked his face, a face Griffin says was not suspicious.
I never seen it in his eyes. You know, like Manson, if you see an interview with Manson, you see it in his eyes, the blankness. You know, and no emotion.
A suburban grandfather, former police officer, and co-worker, DeAngelo's life is coming into focus. And Griffin estimates that DeAngelo started working at the Save Mart facility around 1988. That is 2 years after the last known crime committed by the East Area rapist. Live in Citrus Heights, Allie Wolf, Fox 40 News. We've seen mudslides, we've seen rock slides, we've seen power poles down, and we've also seen what you can see surrounding me right now. This is Deer Creek. It is raging here in Nevada City, and I'm standing on the porch of the restaurant Lefty's Grill, which was already hit really hard from the last storms in January. They just completed renovations. We're getting ready to open, and then they took on 6 inches of water today, taking on another setback. Damage, setbacks, and inconveniences caused by rushing water and strong winds in Nevada County. The latest storm knocking out trees and power poles, deepening sinkholes, and creating rock and mudslides along Highway 49, where drivers got delayed on the winding roads.
We needed the water, from all the drought, but we're getting buckets of it.
Buckets of water increases the need for bigger piles of sandbags.
It's kind of a double-edged sword, right? We need the rain, but it's also a pain. So
Sandbags are more than just a pain at Lefty's Grill in Nevada City. They're a lifeline.
We just can't fight it. It's just hard.
Owner Chris Duncan can't catch a break this year. After getting flooded twice last month, his restaurant was under 6 inches of water again. What's worse, they just finished putting new drywall and new floors in.
Tile just got grouted this morning while this place was flooding.
But as water pours into Lefty's, so does support and donations from community members.
People have been out here doing the sandbags. People have been bringing meals. The other restaurants have been coming by bringing lunches and food to help them.
Helping a local business in need as two surrounding creeks rage. But the flooding won't wash away their determination to reopen. And back here live at Lefty's, a lot of people coming by to check out the restaurant, see how they're doing, and also to check out this pretty impressive sight out here, just how high and how fast Deer Creek is moving tonight. A GoFundMe account has been set up for Lefty's, and just an example of how many people are showing their support. It's already reached $23,000 in just a matter of weeks. They say music soothes the soul.
I was around music all my life.
But for David Clark,
I'm actually a clarinetist.
it's been the common thread throughout his rich and remarkable life. He fought in World War II. He broke a daring world record.
Just did a lot of things.
And as he nears the century mark, he plays piano for tips 3 times a week at Evan's Kitchen in East Sacramento.
It's pretty amazing.
He is cherished by chef and owner Evan Ellsbury.
God, he's like a treasure. He's a hero, you know? I mean, he's done it all.
If you stop and talk with a 93-year-old, he might share his stories.
Senseless, terrible, poor. I mean, there's no words to describe it.
Many are grim. Memories from going into combat in Italy in the early 1940s.
Trucks are going down, we look in the back, and each one is full of body bags, and within each one of those is American soldier.
They're stories about death and the harsh realities of war. They're also stories about the strength of the human spirit.
That we all, at least me, were convinced we would not survive. But we do survive.
Clark knows he's among the shrinking number of living World War II veterans who can share these stories firsthand. Decades after the war in his 70s, Clark got a wild idea.
One day I got a boat.
Despite knowing close to nothing about sailing, he decided to take that boat around the globe.
People said, "You'll never do that." Well, that ticked me off. You don't tell a tourist what they're not going to do.
He did it at age 77.
I really thought I'd be famous and everything.
He made headlines and won medals for being the oldest person to sail around the world alone. Throughout the epic 2-year journey, music was his livelihood.
After I got into port, I was able to play and make music and make money.
And these days, music still keeps him going.
I have great belief that anybody can do anything.
He has no plans to stop sharing his music and his stories with whoever passes through, eager to listen. In East Sacramento,
I hope he keeps going till he's 100.
Ali Wolf,
Said he's going to.
Fox 40 News.